بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. A question or a topic that should be discussed in our YouTube videos. One of the students actually says it's a very relevant topic for the community in my country and area is the extent to which Muslims should be involved in secular politics, both from voting standpoint and holding political office. Then he continues with the details. I do not think that it's important to mention all of this. But at some point he is talking about the political alliances with non-Muslims for the purposes of trying to work against the influence of the modern some groups like gender movements and other things. Apparently this is considered from the perspective of enjoining good and forbidding evil and other things. Politics is a filthy game. This is how it is practiced. We have to be realistic. The way we want things to be, this is a different thing. If in our heads there is a utopia, this is a different thing. In reality, these are very filthy practices. To be a politician, this is a huge responsibility. And unless you come from a Sufi background, I do not think it will work. Because if you come from a Sufi background, you will always listen to the guidance of a Sufiya in general. But if you are just a religious person or a person who belongs to one of the political groups that have religious slogans or religious attitudes, I do not think this is working. I believe this is the reason why we have a lot of problems in the different Islamic communities everywhere in the world, because of these political groups like the Muslim Brotherhood and other people. Or when Salafiyya started practicing politics, it is awful. I think people should vote. They should, if voting makes a difference. If not voting makes a difference, then they should not vote. People should make the best use of these rights, even if it's a democratic system or a democratic country where you live, and you find that this model of democracy contradicts with the teachings and the laws of Islam. I think there are certain aspects in these systems, in these countries, that can be used in a way that benefits Muslims in general. And I believe one of the rights that I would really be interested in practicing, one of these rights is the right of voting in elections, any elections. Being or cooperating or working with some extreme groups because we share or we want to reach the same final outcome, I do not think this is a very good thing to do. I think if we have to do this, we have always to explain in these campaigns or in these gatherings, we will have always to explain that we do not approve of a lot of things that you do. However, if we unite together in order to reach the same purpose or whatever, yes, we are just agreeing on this detail in particular, but not anything else, but not everything else, and no compromises, especially when it comes to serious issues like you know, the serious issues that people usually discuss in the West, in the Western countries, especially the Islamic communities. They always discuss certain issues. Yeah. Also, at the same time, we should not be the way you see some Muslims put it. They actually say, "Yeah, our brothers, our you want to be an your alliance or your ally and or your allies. They are just people who belong to the right wing, to the extreme right wing, but because you share this, not even the same values, you want to reach the same final result, you start calling him brother and these things. This is nonsense. Some Muslims are just very stupid, too stupid to practice any democratic rights, to be honest. But this is democracy. It allows stupid people to do these things. However, in the Islamic communities, we have to raise awareness that this is not my brother, and I think we have to consider or reconsider the benefits of being allies with extreme right wings, even if they say that they hate the things we hate, that they do not want the things that we do not want. I think maybe a liberal person would be the right choice in some under certain circumstances. The person who represents the right wing could be the right person under certain circumstances. We cannot have a fixed ideology when it comes to politics. I mean, as Muslims, yes, because in politics we do not have a representative of the rightly guided caliphate. Yes, a person who represents all these values and all these things. You have to take these things into consideration. People, unfortunately, from where I am now, in general, where I live now, I do not have the chance to discuss a lot of things in al-fiqh, in the books of our in al-fiqh, or the fiqh of what we call الأحكام السلطانية. I do not really have the chance to discuss a lot of these things. They could be misunderstood by certain people, and I believe this topic is really important. Fortunately, I've studied this very well, and fortunately our Imam wrote great books on the topic, especially Al-Qadi Abu Ya'la rahimahullah wa radi anhu. I think if you have the chance to read these things in Arabic, it would not be harmful to start reading more about this topic also in the books of al-fiqh, the traditional books of al-fiqh. You know, there is a whole chapter dedicated to similar issues, and in this chapter they sometimes discuss some of the aspects that you need to consider. The problem is when I recommend someone to read on his own, and it's a serious topic like this, the problem is that they can easily misunderstand what is being said. So do not rush, have patience, read without this desire of I want to reach a result now, I want to have an answer now. Do not read because you want answers to be provided. Read because you want to learn, and consider it a very long process in this case, especially when it comes to a very serious matter, like what we call now politics, you see, from an Islamic perspective. I hope I hope when you are reading, you try to see the bigger picture. You do not just take a ruling and say, yeah, and nowadays this means so and so and so. And I think at the end of this, in order to conclude, please consider this. All what I said was actually said because we do not have a united Islamic state. So Egypt is an Islamic state, Morocco is an Islamic state, Tunisia is an Islamic state. Yeah, Saudi is an Islamic state, but this is a new system. It's the first time to see something like this in the history of al-Muslimin. We had the Ottomans in the past. Before them, we had some Mamalik here and Mamlukis, yeah, here and there. Before that, we had the Dawla al-Abbasiyya, and before that, we had Dawla al-Umayyah. Before that, we had al-Khilafa al-Rashida, yani the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the four or the five. Bear in mind that this is a new model. We've never seen this before. Hence, people who live in the West should live in the West, should continue living in the West. And if they live in the West, they should make their lives as Muslims, as a Muslim community, they should make their lives as I want to say Islamically appropriate as it can be. Yes, I didn't cover the part of participating or like participating in an official position or becoming like a governor or becoming something like this, or even a president or something like this. I do not think that a scholar or a person who wants to be a scholar should participate in anything like this. But for a normal Muslim who seeks al-ilm but is not becoming a scholar because apparently it cannot be done, or a person who is trying to fulfill fard al-kifaya somewhere else, yes, in a different in a different thing, I think this person could run elections, whatever, office as you say. However, unless this person comes from a Sufi perspective, I think it will never work. This person will make a lot of mistakes, will commit a lot of things that cannot be tolerated under any circumstances, and no excuse. We can never find any excuses for these things that might happen. We can never find a proper justification for these things that might happen. Unless this person comes from a Sufi background, I think there will be a lot of problems that can never be tolerated. And when this person comes from a Sufi background, we will still face some problems. However, at least we will have something against which we judge things that are being done. The problem when one practices politics is that sometimes ethics, morals, and Islamic manners, sometimes in the head of the person who practices politics, they get really blurred, and I do not think this is how we want things to be. This is not one of my favorite topics, to be honest. I tried to give a proper answer and a very concise one as well. I think I can say more, but I can say more. I have the knowledge to say more, but I can't say more. I do not have that chance, let's say, to say more. I promise you, once I have the chance to say more, it's probably, this might be surprising, it's the top of my priorities to say more about this topic and talk more about this topic. Some of my students will be surprised when the time comes, if it ever comes, that this is what I'm talking about now, from Hanbali perspective, from proper scholarly perspective and everything. But they will be surprised that this topic has never been a topic that I it's not something that I usually discuss, but for reasons that might be obvious for some people. At least to some people it's obvious. They are obvious reasons. Anyway, I think this is sufficient, and hopefully this will cover at least some of what you are thinking about. And if you want to know more, please start reading, but with the intention and purpose that I've already mentioned. والله تعالى أعلى وأعلم، وصلي اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم، والحمد لله رب العالمين.